From alien abductions to possessed classmates, these are all 10 fights from DanDaDan Seasons 1 and 2 ranked from worst to best. And let's start with our number 10 fight. The first time we see real combat, it's the first Serpo encounter. And honestly, this is the worst fight in the entire series. But not because it's bad, it's because you have absolutely no idea what the hell is going on. Momo gets abducted by these gray aliens while Okarun's getting possessed by Turbo Granny in that tunnel. But you're sitting there like, wait, what? Aliens are real? Ghosts are real? Why is this guy screaming about bananas? It's pure chaos. The fight itself is shocking and wild, but you spend the entire time trying to process what you're even watching, instead of enjoying the action. Yeah, it sets up everything perfectly, but as a standalone fight, you're just confused. And that gets us to number 9. The floating big head musicians fight. This one's honestly kind of boring and lackluster. I get it, it was supposed to be a mini training arc where the characters learn to work together, but these floating musician guys were just not good antagonists. They're creepy looking with their giant heads and instruments, but there's no real stakes, no emotional investment. It feels like filler content that you have to sit through to get to the good stuff. The powers are cool, but the enemies are forgettable. So moving on to number 8. The Keto family fight. Now this wasn't even a crazy fight. It was short and honestly, no one was really using their supernatural powers. But I decided to throw this one in here because it felt like it counted for something. It's just some hand-to-hand combat, nothing special. But it shows these characters can throw down even without their abilities. Still, compared to everything else on this list, it's pretty basic. But here's where things start getting interesting, because we reach number 7, the Serpo School Invasion / Crab Alien fight. This one was super cool. It was actually hard to put this one so low, but it's only because of how insanely good all the other fights are. The coolest part about this fight was it felt genuinely scary and ominous, like you're just sitting in school, normal day, then boom, alien invasion out of nowhere. The crab alien design is terrifying, and watching it hunt students through the hallways is pure nightmare fuel. This fight gets complicated because it starts as separate encounters, the underwater battle and the Kappa fight, but they all blend together into this chaotic mess of supernatural action. And that brings us to number 6, Turbo Granny versus the main characters. And this one was super cool, because it was honestly completely unexpected. I thought the whole show, or at least the first 2 seasons, was gonna build up to this epic final battle against Turbo Granny, and then they just straight up beat her in episode 4. I was sitting there like, wait, what's the rest of the show even about? But that's what makes it brilliant. It subverts your expectations completely. The chase sequence through the tunnel is pure tension, and when they finally outsmart her, instead of overpowering her, it sets the tone for the entire series. Brains over brawn every single time. So now we're at number 5. Great Kinta versus Kaiju. This fight was super cool because it was our first real introduction to Kinta and his mecha abilities. It's a classic robot versus kaiju battle with that nostalgic Godzilla feel that just hits different. The scale is massive, the destruction is epic, and watching Kinta figure out how to pilot this giant robot while fighting is incredible. Definitely not the best fight in the series, but it's got that pure spectacle factor that makes you feel like a kid again, watching giant monsters duke it out. But then we get to number 4. The acrobatic Silky fight. High stakes, emotional, action-packed, and after everything, you straight up cried when the fighting was over, and you saw the true suffering of her soul. This isn't just a fight, it's a tragedy. Ira awakens her powers, but more importantly, we learn that Silky isn't some evil spirit. She's a mother who lost everything, and she's just trying to find her daughter. The combat is beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. When Ira finally understands Silky's pain and helps her find peace, it destroys you emotionally. This is what separates DanDaDan from every other action series. The fights have real emotional weight. And that gets us to number 3, Evil Eye Round 1 with the giant worm. The reason this one was so cool is the power of that worm to hypnotize you into fatally harming yourself. That's a genuinely terrifying ability. You're watching characters almost kill themselves because this thing is messing with their minds. And you add an Evil Eye possessing Gigi, and Okarun having to fight his friend. This fight is packed with everything you could want. I almost wanted to put this at number 1 because it's got that psychological horror, the emotional stakes, and incredible action all rolled into one. But here's where things get insane, because we reach number 2, the Serpo Dover Demon Nessie fusion fight. This was part of the Serpo comeback, but I separated it because there was literally 2 massive fights happening at the same time. What makes this incredible is how it all comes together. First, you've got the Dover Demon Crab Alien. Then Nessie shows up as this separate water creature, and then a Serpo uses these amalgamation cables to fuse all 3 into this unholy underwater monster. The animation underwater is absolutely crisp. The teamwork is perfect. and everyone has to adapt their fighting styles completely. Momo's psychic powers work differently underwater. Okarun's speed is affected by water resistance, and they have to get creative with their tactics. It's pure chaos in the best possible way. But that brings us to our number 1 fight, and this is Evil Eye Round 2. This takes the crown because of the choreography, the music, but more than that, this was the moment Okarun truly manned up and stood up for something bigger than himself. He didn't have to do this fight, he wanted to. For GG, for the Evil Eye spirit, for everyone. This was the culmination of all of Okarun's growth since he started his journey. He went from this bullied nerd who couldn't stand up for himself to someone willing to risk everything to save his friend and put a tortured spirit to rest. The animation is godlike. Every punch feels earned, and when Okarun finally wins through pure determination and heart rather than power, it's the perfect representation of everything DanDaDan stands for. Creative solutions, emotional investment, and the power of friendship conquering raw strength every single time. So those are all 10 fights from DanDaDan Seasons 1 and 2, ranked from worst to best. Which of these fights was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching. And watch this video next.